It's magic. Waiting in the car because of that perfect link. It's the story. It's feeling connected. Being tuned in. That sense that you're part of something. My father was in broadcasting and I used to go with him to work, and I used the sound lock as my magic portal. I was tiny enough to fit between the two doors, and as I would move through into the next room, I can remember going into the studio and regarding it as alive. The lights were all in standby mode, and with the studio dimly lit and the lights on standby, it was like a moment in time was waiting for me to illuminate it, and I loved it there and then. A slot came up on campus radio, and it's very unusual for a first-year student to be able to be on air, and I was lucky enough to be able to audition and get the slot, so it was exciting, dynamic, fun, and I was in, and I was never out of it ever again. It was one of those moments in time where radio just took hold. So eventually I got the degree, which was just as well. And then I had to get the job, related not at all to the degree. As it turned out, it was a detective agency. Wasn't that racy though, I was the receptionist. And it did give me some skills though. I knew how to use the phone, and as it so turned out, I heard that there was a job going for a talk station that were casting for a sports anchor. So I called up and I left a really long audition. So long in fact that I finished the tape, and to my horror I hadn't left my details. I called back, I left my name, and I put the phone down thinking, well, I'm going to carry on being a secretary come typist at the detective agency. As far as commercial radio goes, being the breakfast jock is really, it's the pinnacle. For community, it's a bit tougher to get somebody to wake up early and go and do the show. But I was that person. I was keen. I would do anything. And I was the person lucky enough to have that breakfast slot. I had just jumped into the car and I'd set off early every morning. I'd get those CDs. I knew how to compile from the bottom up for the hour, and I loved it. I'd go in there and I'd make beautiful music choices and, fun programming and things that I thought were magical. I loved it. I thought it was entertaining. But what was amazing was I was getting feedback from people that I didn't realize who were listening. It was amazing to see that as a community station, it really was making an impact. It was wonderful to have that kind of scope. For the first time, I was getting feedback from a huge market. So the phone rings in the studio and wow, it's an international music consultant, and he wants to know if I know where the 702 studios are. And I know where they are because I'm doing sports anchoring on the weekend. He hadn't heard me doing sports anchoring on the weekend, but he had heard me doing this community breakfast show. And this was the music consultant who was phoning to tell me he wanted to see me. He had good news. It was one of those dream phone calls, that call that changes your life. I'll never forget it. And it was that moment where you go, it's here. The dream has come true. Amazing. What a privilege it was. I was given the very first chance to be a part of the commercial broadcasting change in the South African broadcast field, and Prime Media bought Highveld Stereo from the South African Broadcasting Corporation, and they rebranded it 94.7 Highveld Stereo. It's still the huge commercial success, the big station in Johannesburg. had a massively popular show on 94.7 Highfield Stereo. It was a show called Love in the Afternoon, which evolved essentially from a feature, but the feature became popular and the whole show took on the identity to the point that I released a CD called Love in the Afternoon. I sang on the CD, which was a huge surprise and lots of fun to do. Massively intimidating, but great fun, because I think there are quite a few DJs in the world who harbour that desire to sing just a tiny little bit, and I managed it and it was a lot of fun. I also composed an original track for it called the title Love in the Afternoon. I worked with one of the South African artists who had a world #1 with a band called Clout. I spent 10 years with 94.7 Highfield Stereo. I had the honour of winning some Crystal Awards for Best Female Personality with that radio station. And then when I was nominated in the radio category, I found myself being with the icons of the industry. And I noticed I was the only female in the category. To be nominated was amazing. To win it was incredible, and it was quite honestly the best way to round out a 10-year career on the top commercial station in Johannesburg. I left 94.7 Highfield Stereo and moved to Jacaranda 94.2. It was an opportunity to speak a second language and to be on a broader platform and speak that second language and sing a second language. We had a lot of different endeavours in terms of sporting events and live concerts. We took listeners on sailing ships and did extravaganzas on boats. I had the opportunity to take some listeners with me to Paris to go and enjoy a James Blunt concert, which was a phenomenal experience for them and loads of fun for us. But of course, with a brand like that, you can offer that kind of polish for your listener. After Jacaranda 94.2, I went back briefly to 702 again. It's a talk station, but they also on the weekend offered solid gold weekends. After that, I moved to an internet radio station, massively interesting station because it taught me some stuff about technical nuance that I hadn't experienced before. Also insights in terms of listener-driven on-demand radio, and that was fascinating for me. Moving from Johannesburg, I decided it was time to take in the coastal experience of the Eastern Cape, and I started scuba diving, and I actually embedded with a dive school in the Eastern Cape and started shooting across all 4 seasons so that we could make a dive school movie. It was a fascinating experience and I loved it so much. I even started triathlon and that was exciting, but of course I could never be too far from radio. And interestingly, I discovered the same radio station that I used to file reports for as a student. I got in touch with them and they had transformed from Radio Algoa to Algoa FM, and it was wonderful to go back onto that platform and be a part of Algoa FM. The School of Broadcasting was a very dynamic space for both of us, and we had the opportunity to take several people through the experience. My presentation skills work, 26 years of radio experience, emceeing work and stage performance. I had also gathered together a lot of expertise. I used to do breakfast television as well. No, when I started in radio, we were still using vinyl, and we went through that to carts and CDs, etc. So the technology has changed, but you know, the premise of radio is the same. It's connection. It's about making contact with people, being real with people. And it's evolved. It's not just about a person broadcasting to an audience. Now radio is about interactivity and communication. It's about the back and forth. Because of social media, radio now is about pictures and it's about video. Social media has made radio a content sharing platform. It's about being in touch with people and sharing what they're doing, what they're talking about, and interacting with them as well. How's it? And welcome to the Tove Tabloid, live today at the Culloden. The Tove Tabloid, this morning we're in Bangor. Hi, and welcome to the Tove Tabloid today. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Welcome to the Tove Tabloid in Rome, Italy. Tove Tabloid today from Rome, the Castel Sant'Angelo. Thank you so much for watching us on ToveKane.com. Today we are in Belfast City. Tove Tabloid on ToveKane.com. Welcome to the Tove Tabloid. Welcome to the Tove Tabloid. Welcome to the Tove Tabloid. We're in Belfast City today for the Belfast City Marathon. From Bangor Castle, the Tove Tabloid today. I'm Tove Kane. Be kind to yourself and those around you. But seriously.
Whatever do you mean? Seriously though.
Seriously though.